Picture this. You're standing completely alone at the edge of a vast, quiet forest just as the dawn breaks. The air is biting cold. The world is just perfectly still. This is where we find a young man named Lucas. He's standing there, wrestling with a realization so profound it's about to alter the entire trajectory of his life. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're walking through a deeply powerful story, a framework really, about ambition, distraction, and the quiet tragedy of unused potential. We're unpacking the story of the man who chased two rabbits and looking at the true power of selecting just one target.
Choose one target. Simple words, right? A hunter had spoken them to Lucas just the day before. But as Lucas stood there at dawn, those three words felt heavier than anything he had ever heard. Why? Because Lucas knew the terrifying truth hiding underneath that advice. Choosing one single path inherently means doing the hardest thing a person with ambition can do. It means giving up all the other paths. It's the sacrifice of letting go of what could be, to fully commit to what will be.
Let's look at Chapter 1, The Trap of Options. For years, Lucas lived his life the way, well, so many of us do. He kept absolutely every door open, terrified to commit. He really thought he was maintaining this illusion of freedom. Keeping his camera, his guitar, his business books, all his unfinished plans equally active. He thought that made him free. But the reality of that trap? All those open doors had just kept him stuck in the exact same room. While everyone else he knew was picking a direction and moving forward, Lucas was permanently standing at the entrance. He wasn't free at all. He was paralyzed.
So that very afternoon, Lucas went home, looked around his room, and made a painful but absolutely necessary decision. He packed away the camera. He packed up the guitar. He boxed up the notebooks filled with dozens of unfinished plans. And he didn't pack them away because those dreams were bad. He packed them away because he finally grasped a profound truth. You can do many things in life, but you cannot do them all at the exact same time. Success demands priority, and priority demands sacrifice. Moving on to Chapter 2, The Cost of Commitment. Lucas made his choice. He decided he would build the business he had always dreamed about, and he was going to commit fully. And let me tell you, month 1 was grueling. 0 customers came, just lonely, quiet work. By month 6, he was making mistakes, losing money, and frankly, drowning in doubt. But then we hit year 1, silent progress. To the outside world, Lucas still looked like a guy who was struggling. But internally, his skills were improving. His confidence was taking root. He wasn't starting over anymore. He was building. And by year 2, that invisible foundation finally broke the surface, leading to true compounding growth. But we really have to acknowledge the dark moments that lived between those milestones. Every single time a mistake cost him money or a day ended with 0 sales, this agonizing thought would whisper in his ear, maybe I should try something else. Maybe there's an easier path. That right there is the siren song of the second rabbit. But in those moments, Lucas anchored himself. He remembered the old hunter. He remembered the trap of the open doors. And instead of changing direction, he simply took one more step forward.
And that brings us to Chapter 3, The Secret to Growth.
Because Lucas didn't quit, his business finally blossomed. His income skyrocketed, breaking through the wall that stops 99% of people. And as soon as he broke through, people around him started to notice. They'd look at his thriving business and ask him, "So, what's your secret?" It's a funny question, isn't it? After years of grueling, invisible agony, people just assume his overnight success was born from raw talent, or a lucky break, or maybe he was just born with higher intelligence. But Lucas would always just smile, because his only real secret was simply focus. While other people switched paths the minute things got hard, Lucas stayed. While other people constantly restarted at the bottom of a new mountain, Lucas just kept climbing the exact same one, letting his efforts compound. His secret was simply outlasting the desire to switch paths.
Let's explore Chapter 4, The Eagle's Lesson.
One evening, feeling the weight of his newfound success, Lucas returned to the forest and found the old hunter. The old man looked older, but his eyes held that same sharp, calm wisdom. Lucas sat beside him in the quiet air, ready to share what he learned. Looking toward the horizon, he said, "Success isn't about chasing more opportunities. It's about giving one opportunity enough time to succeed." The old hunter slowly turned, offered a warm, knowing smile, and just nodded in agreement. The old man then raised a weathered finger and pointed to an eagle soaring high above the valley. Down below that eagle, there were hundreds of movements in the grass. Rabbits, birds, squirrels, literally hundreds of opportunities. But watch the eagle's process. First, it completely ignores the hundreds of distractions. Second, it locks onto one single target. Third, it folds its wings and dives. Seconds later, it rises back into the sky carrying its prey. As the hunter pointed out, that majestic predator only succeeds because it chooses. The moment it tries to chase everything in that field, it catches absolutely nothing.
Which leads us to Chapter 5, The Legacy of Focus.
Years pass. Lucas becomes one of the most successful businessmen in his entire region. One day, a young, intensely frustrated man visits him. He is torn between starting a business, becoming a digital creator, learning real estate, or going back to school. Honestly, he sounds exactly like Lucas did 20 years prior. Lucas doesn't give him a long lecture. Instead, he picks up 2 small stones, puts one in each of the young man's hands, and asks, "Can you throw both and hit 2 different targets at the exact same time?" The young man laughs. "Of course not," he says. To which Lucas nods and replies, "Then don't expect your life to work any differently. Divided physical effort guarantees a miss. Divided mental effort is no different."
And finally, Chapter 6, The Power of One.
Let's step out of the story for a second, because this applies directly to you. Failure rarely stems from a lack of raw ability. Instead, it comes down to this exhausting loop, the cycle of divided attention. You start a project, you hit a wall, so you stop. You see a new opportunity, so you switch. You restart at the bottom, and then you repeat. Start, stop, switch, restart, repeat. Over and over again, for years. You burn massive amounts of energy, but because you are constantly starting over, you never give your efforts the time required to actually compound into anything meaningful.
Think about a magnifying glass. It can start a roaring fire, but it doesn't do that because the sunlight suddenly became more powerful. It starts a fire entirely because the existing light becomes hyper-concentrated onto a single point. Your energy works exactly the same way. Your time works exactly the same way. Your entire life follows the exact same rule. If you spread your light out, it will only ever provide a mild warmth. But if you concentrate it, it catches fire.
And that brings us to the ultimate lesson from all of this. Let this sink in. Focus is not about doing more things. It's about doing fewer things with greater commitment. It is the profound, peaceful realization that you do not need to be everywhere. You do not need to be everything to everyone. You just need to commit deeply to the path you have chosen.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a heavy, soul-searching question. Look at your life right now. What is the one rabbit you know you should be chasing? And maybe more importantly, what are the shiny, tempting distractions you need to intentionally stop chasing today? Choose your one path. Commit to it. Stay with it through the boring, silent years. The man who chases 2 rabbits catches none, but the one who focuses on a single target has the power to change his entire life. Think on that. See you next time.